वेलकम टू माय यूट्यूब चैनल द सोलफुल डायरी। आज के वीडियो में हम बात करेंगे सरोजनी नायडू की पोम टू अ बुद्धा सीटेड ऑन अ लोटस के बारे में। पोएट, इससे पहले हमने जितनी भी सरोजनी नायडू की पोम डिस्कस की है उसका लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन में। चलिए शुरू करते हैं आज की वीडियो। इन डेप्थ जानने से पहले जान लेते हैं उसके कुछ की फीचर्स। To a Buddha seated on a lotus by Sarojini Naidu is one of those poems of the poetess which takes us back to the days of yore, to the land of Buddha and Buddhism. Buddhist art and architecture. How did they make the statues of Buddha, craft and chisel from art materials and substances? Buddhas cast in gold, Buddhas made from baked clay, Buddhas as art models and symbols. How to put the iconography of the Buddha life, Buddha in meditation, Buddha under a tree, Buddha on a lotus, Buddha as rock cut carvings, Buddha as Avalokitesvara, the Buddha of the bhikshus. How to view it? We do not know it. Let us see Sarojini Naidu's poem. Just a mere darshan, sightseeing of the master says it all. Buddha, the statues of is so panoramic and serene and lovely to look at, made by artisans, artists and sculptors. It really is a joy to view Buddha art and artifacts, relics and carvings, sculptures and figurines. What it appalls us is the divine grace around Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha, seated on a lotus and lost in a prayer and meditation, with dilated hands, is the thing with which the poetess starts the poem under our discussion. To picture Buddha seated on a lotus in itself adds to the aesthetic sense of the poem. What a mystical posture, how the halo around, how the peace serene, how peace encompassing it all. It is a beauty to see Lord on the lotus throne, as the lotus serves as a myth, motive, symbol, and sign. The art model speaks more than a presentation in words. The blissful state of the Lord to is itself supported of what we want to speak forth or put down. As the world is so, will remain at peace and nothing can annihilate it. Peace is what we hunger after. Finally, everything is led in peace and rest need to be discussed here. The world is forever in a flux as the things keep it changing here. They do not remain in the same as they were in the beginning. Even those which are by now will cease to remain. So what to say about human life, short and transitory. The paths of life too are never smooth. Against the backdrop of all this, the situation given how to take to, where to go, life is so full of troubles and tribulations. Tomorrow's unborn grief takes over the grief of today, and if misery and sorrow seem to be a part of life, then what to say it more? This is what the poetess means to present it here. One dream after another dream keeps it unfolding the doors of dreams, and thus the story of our attachment keeps doing the rounds. But death is the ultimate reality which we cannot refuse to accept at our ordeals of fate we have to take to the test ourselves. But the human beings, live with the frailties, follies, and foibles of our own. We want to be perfect, but we can never be, as we are the baser things have to return to dust and clay from where we are, and our needs tend to be too. Our wants and desires are many, and we cannot limit them. Our wishes too are not sublime and easy. We are concerned with ourselves merely. We want to attain moksha, but this too cannot be so easily. We want to ascend the diviner summits. Nirvana is the most sought after, but few can meddle with it. The samsara is all that we are trapped in, into the vortex of the momaya, vasana, infatuation, fascination, for it's all that engages us and keeps us bound within. We cannot rise above as the daily trifles trending to lust and affection. Let us not to be afraid. The trivials of life, those who ail true know it well. We want to discard and discern like as you came out, leaving the palace and the family, but we cannot help. We cannot be like you, my lord, is the thing of deliberation. We cannot cut the bonds of Maya, Mo, illusion, and hallucination. The samsara is of Maya, with the chakras as such of Sukh and Dukh. How to get rid of the snares of the world are what we seem to be grappling with, but instead there is something which but turns within, which is the thirst for spiritual thought and idea, the idea of moksha and mukti, deliverance and liberation, the quest for light and is indefatigable. How to be with the divine is the essence, and without which the void will seem to be encompassing us. The poem is in itself a Gautam Buddhian poem, as herein lies it a volleys of questions answered and unanswered which Siddharth came to grapple with and on whose regulation to find he left the worldly life to be Gautam Buddha. After having got enlightenment and he the enlightened one, why Sukh, why Dukh, Sukh and Dukh and vice versa. What is nirvana? How to attain it? What is moksha? And how to attain it? The Lord is the answer of it all. So serene and full of quietude, as if for blessing every seeker after truth. To see the face is to forget the question sailing to the self. To see is to feel peace and blessing. Wisdom comes from peace and blessedness from contentment. What India has forgotten, the world knows that who is Buddha, how is Buddhism, and these will continue to cherish mankind ever in search of Shanti, Anand, Moksha, and Nirvana. How whoever comes unto him will get Shanti, the peace of mind and soul. How to be in his refuge, great shelter, sheltering from it all, into the shelter of Buddha, how to feel the illumination of that light, just the sparkle of that, how to get lit. The light is all which is but knowledge. पोम को in depth discuss करते हैं stanza 1. Lord Buddha, on thy lotus throne, with praying eyes and hands elate, what mystic rapture dost thou own? Immutable and ultimate, what peace unravished of our ken, annihilate from the world of men. In the first stanza is described the idol of Lord Buddha, which the poetess had seen recently, and a question is asked. Lord Buddha is shown the idol seated cross-legged on a lotus which form is drawn. His eyes are half uplifted as if blessing his devotees. There is a look of deep bliss, profound exaltation on his face, as if he has attained the mysterious oneness with the divine, which has been quest of sages, rishis and munis in all countries. Speak of the mystic experience in his Tintern Abbey and the prelude. It is a feeling of bliss possible for him alone, who goes to nature in a mood of wise passivity and then can become one with the soul of all the world, and then can see into the heart of things. All desire this mystic oneness, but few can attain it. Lord Buddha was one of those few, and the look of bliss on his face results from the mystic experience of oneness with the divine. The poetess called Lord Buddha unchangeable and perfect, for he has achieved eternal peace and freedom from the cycle of birth and death. He has attained moksha or nirvana, which is the highest and ultimate aim of human life. According to Buddhist philosophy, the poetess asks Lord Buddha the secret of the mystic bliss which is he has attained for the soul of all hunger for that bliss. She wants to know the way in which he attained it. The spiritual peace which he has attained is beyond the perception of a man, something separate and above the world of men. It is something much higher and nobler than anything that can ever exist in the world. How did he attain it? Asked the poetess. For here, soul also, as also that of a fellow mortals, hunger for it. Stanza 2. The wind of change forever blows across the tumult of our way. Tomorrow's unborn griefs depose the sorrows of our yesterday. Dream yields to dream, strife follows strife, and death unweaves the webs of life. In the second stanza, Sarojini Naidu contrasts the fever and fret of the human condition with peace and tranquility expressed by the idol of Lord Buddha. Human life is full of toil, noise, and bustle, and the lot of helpless men is ever changing. One grief give way to another, and thus human life becomes a chain of sorrow continuing from the past into the future. There is a constant succession of sorrows. They work hard to attain their goals but are constantly defeated despite their strenuous efforts, their hopes do not come to flowering, and efforts do not bear fruit. They are never able to attain the perfect peace and tranquility, that perfect bliss which is expressed by the face of Lord Buddha as he sits on the lotus throne. Human beings also desire that bliss, that spiritual peace, but also their efforts to attain it are futile and vain. It always remains beyond their reach. Human beings always try to attain spiritual peace, that union with the divine which Lord Buddha has attained, but the efforts is too much for them. Soon their faith weakens, their feet get tired, and so they fail. But nothing can control or overcome their desires for the attainment of the divine. Despite their failure, they continue to yearn for the mystic bliss which results from an experience of oneness or union with the divine. This heavenward hunger of the human soul always persists. For us, the trivial and the heat, the broken secrets of our pride, the strenuous lessons of defeat, the flowers deferred, the fruit denied, but not the peace supremely won. Lord Buddha of thy lotus throne. In this stanza, the poet contrasts the exhausting, chaotic struggle of human life, defined by failure, pride, and denied rewards, with the serene, untroubled, and absolute peace of enlightenment achieved by the Buddha. It highlights the gap between mortal longing and divine calm. It represents the hard labor, suffering, and intense struggle of human existence, suggests that human arrogance or ego is shattered by the realities of life. It highlights that human efforts often fail, or that rewards are delayed or never realized. It contrasts human misery with the perfect, unshakable tranquility or nirvana. The lotus throne represents a state of elevated spiritual detachment, untouchable by the hardships of life. In this stanza is a contemplation of human longing where humanity seeks divine peace yet finds itself bogged down by world trials. Stanza 4. With futile hands we seek to gain our inaccessible desire, diviner summits to attain, with faith that sinks and feet that tire, but not shall conquer or control the heavenward hunger of our soul. This stanza describes the human struggle to achieve spiritual attainment or divine perfection. It highlights that despite human limitation, exhaustion, and inaccessible nature of the goal, the soul possesses an unquenchable desire for higher meaning. Humans are physically frail and mortal, making the pursuit of divine lofty goals, diviner summits, exhausting and often seemingly useless. Despite failures, the soul possesses an innate, unceasing urge to rise above the earthly existence and connect with the divine. The lotus throne of the Buddha symbolizes a state of ultimate peace that is difficult for mortals to attain because it is distant from mortal effort. The poem explores how humans can bridge the gap between their limited lives and the infinite, noting that even with faith that sinks, the spiritual hunger remains unstoppable. This para emphasizes that while humans are limited by their nature, their spiritual ambition, desire for transcendence are indestructible. If the end elusive and afar still allures us with its beckoning flight, and all our mortal moments are a session of the infinite, how shall we reach the great unknown, nirvana of thy lotus throne? This stanza highlights the contrast between mortal struggle and divine peace. It portrays ultimate peace, nirvana, as a distant goal, while human life, though filled with temporary, meaningful, or infinite moments, constantly strives towards an unattainable peace and serene calm represented by the Buddha. True peace is always just out of reach, calling to humans like a beckoning flight. These are not just fleeting but contain with them a session of the infinite, suggesting even small moments have profound spiritual potential. The final question asks how humanity, constantly distracted by suffering and striving, can reach the absolute tranquil state of the Buddha's lotus throne. This represents total freedom from the cycles of life, death, and human pain. The stanza expresses a heavenward hunger, a deep longing for peace while admitting too difficult of achieving it. The pursuit of spiritual peace, the poet explores the hunger of human soul for ultimate bliss and peace, embodied by a serene image of the Buddha seated on a lotus, contrasting human life and divine calm. Naidu contrasts the fever and fret of human existence and characterized by sorrow, decay, and struggle, with the unchanging, tranquil calm of the Buddha who has escaped the cycle of life and death. The nature of nirvana and moksha. The poem contemplates the state of absolute liberation and the longing for liberation from the trivial heat of human life. The inevitability of impermanence. The imagery highlights that human life is fleeting, full of broken secrets, whereas the Buddha state is permanent. आई होप आज की वीडियो आपको पसंद है। कैसी लगे हमें कमेंट करके बताएं और कोई डाउट्स है सजेशंस है तो वो भी आप कमेंट सेक्शन में ड्रॉप कर सकते हैं। अगर वीडियो अच्छी लगी हो तो लाइक शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब टू माय चैनल। मिलते हैं कल एक और इन्फॉर्मेटिव वीडियो के साथ शाम 4 बजे। टिल देन कीप वॉचिंग एंड कीप सपोर्टिंग द सोलफुल डायरी। थैंक